Hi, shalom, friends. Jewish people are peculiar in many ways, and perhaps one of the most peculiar ways, which I believe might even be unique to the Jewish people, is their desire to receive a bracha. Now, bracha in English is usually translated as blessing. They like to get blessings, especially from good friends, and even more so from rabbis, sages, holy people. Not only that, but often to their surprise, someone, an acquaintance or a loved one, will say, give me a bracha, give me a blessing, bestow upon me a blessing. And in all honesty, I don't really have that many friends outside of a very small circle of people of the same faith, but the closest thing that I believe I've heard in the secular world is, I'm opening up a new job. Good luck. Sometimes it's said with a touch of irony. I'm going to go, I have a meeting with the IRS. Oh, good luck. But what does good luck mean? Is that a blessing? I guess it's a nice thing to say. What exactly do they mean by it is, I hope it's a favorable outcome or you'll be successful. But do you actually hear a person saying, I give you a blessing that you should be successful? But in our faith, in the Jewish faith, we hear it constantly. And we have to ask ourselves, what does that mean, this blessing? Now, in all religions, as far as I know, there's this concept of blessing God, which in itself is a question. What does that mean, we bless God? And certain, what does it mean that God blesses us? But that's another topic for another day. So let's talk about the blessings of one another, to one another. The rabbis actually tell us that one of the meanings of a blessing is we anticipate a drawing down of spiritual energy from a concealed form to a revealed form. Now, I know, how did that help you? All right, so let's take this slowly. All of us, for example, are quite familiar with a bank account. You write out a check or you go to an ATM. Essentially, you have a certain amount of value, currency, wealth, which the bank is either holding or acknowledges. And what you're doing is you're accessing it. So if you don't write out that check or you don't take out the money from the ATM, it remains in your bank account. When you write the check and it's cashed, then that money which you have is now being bestowed upon others. Of course, usually for good reason, such as you either bought something or perhaps for charity. A bracha, a blessing, essentially in a spiritual sense means that there's a certain amount of goodness, a certain amount of divine grace or divine kindness that's in heaven. And when you give a bracha and you say, give me a blessing that I should be successful, and the person says, okay, I'll give you a blessing that you should be successful, and what we're actually doing is making a withdrawal, taking out from what's already there in a spiritual sense in the celestial worlds, and asking Hashem to bring it downwards in a revealed way. So if you can imagine, for example, you have something very far on the 14th floor in a construction zone, and you want to get the attention of the guy on the ground floor. So there might be a rope in which you dangle. Now you're dangling it from the 14th floor, but the person on the ground floor would see it wiggle, and that will be a sign for him to do something. And it could be the other way around as well. You might shake vigorously the rope or the cable, and the person on the 14th floor will see movement and then know that this is what he has to do. perhaps, just as a very, very rough approximation, a sketch almost, when we do a blessing, what we're actually awakening from above a desire to receive what's already there. And we're asking that we need this now and here. So I'm a firm believer that from good comes good. God is the source of all good, so certainly only good comes from God. And yet, when I need an additional measure of revealed good, because whatever happens to me, I know is good. But if I go for a checkup to the doctor, I would very much like the doctor to tell me everything is fine, to come back in 2 years for another checkup. Nothing to report, everything's good. I would like to hear that from the doctor, so I might call up my father and say, Dad, give me a bracha that my checkup should go well, because whatever happens is good. However, with the bracha, it will become a revealed good. How do we have that power to actually bring down good from heaven? And the answer is, this is a power bestowed upon us from the owner of all blessings. As a matter of fact, there's a beautiful midrash that tells us that when Abraham was 75 years old and had spent his lifetime serving Hashem, and then passed one of his more severe tests of leaving Mesopotamia to come to the land that God will show him, God said, V'heyeh bracha, you will be a blessing. Says the Medrash, until now, I'm the one that gave blessings. But from now onwards, you and your descendants will have that power as well. And indeed, if we veer off this very narrow course to make it a little broader, I would say proudly and honestly that wherever Jewish people have resided, they've brought a blessing to that country, to that neighborhood, to that community, as if to say the concealed good became revealed through the presence of this unique nation, the Jewish people. Indeed, we are a blessed people, blessed by God, but what I'm emphasizing is the capacity to bring blessing just like God, who gives us this power. For those of you that might be listening and somehow shrug your shoulders, does words have any power? I offer this tidbit with a touch of humor. Today, you walk into a home and you basically say, Alexa, put on the lights. And suddenly, because you said something, the lights go on. And voice activation today is remarkable. You could actually have an entire, literally a factory run with hundreds of people and tens of thousands of details, all based on what you said. Obviously, a computer has to be programmed. And for the lights to go on, there has to be power. So if there's a blackout and you speak, Alexa, I told you to put on the lights, nothing will happen. So clearly a blessing which brings down from a concealed good to a revealed good has to already exist in the reservoir in heaven. But we're confident that it does, for the Almighty is the source of all blessing. Which leads us to a bit of a question. How come we don't see the effect of blessings? Now, when I say we don't see, that's not exactly true. Many do see. But as a whole, we get a blessing from a loved one or from a friend, and it's a real blessing. Sincerely, I bless you with health. I bless you with a child. I bless you, not I bless you with a child. I bless you, God should give you a child, etc. And it doesn't always work. So for here, we have more than one response, and I'll share one of the three responses with you. This response that I'm going to give you is from the book Hayom Yom, the day-by-day inspiration from our holy Rebbe. And he explains as follows, and I'm paraphrasing. A blessing is like rain. Rain is a blessing. Nothing can grow or even exist really without rain. However, if you don't plow the earth, you don't turn over the earth, you don't expose the earth to the rain, what will happen is most of the rain will just run off. So just as rain runs off concrete, to a certain extent, it will run off hard ground as well. But if you prepare the ground by turning it over, and in a sense revealing a softness to the ground, which is another way of saying making the ground more receptive, then the rain will be literally miraculous, life-giving. When we ask a blessing from a holy person or even from a friend, that doesn't absolve us from doing what we're supposed to do. So asking for a blessing to be successful in business, but not opening up the store or making silly decisions without consulting with experts, that's a rain. You brought down the blessing, but it went nowhere. In fact, perhaps, God forbid, it was actually wasted because the rain just ran off. So why am I actually, okay, we'll tell a Hasidic story. I don't know with which Rebbe it happened, and it could have been that it happened many times with many Rebbes. But here's a very well-known Hasidic story. Two friends, two Hasidim, we'll call one Reuven, one Shimon, childhood friends, growing up, living in the same town, marrying the same year, and both of them sharing a pain. They were both married for 3 years. Neither one of them was blessed with children. Well, being Hasidim, followers of a great saint, they go to their Rebbe. Reuven goes in and says, Rebbe, I've been married for 3 years. I beg the Rebbe, please pray to God that I be blessed with children. And he was so excited to hear the Rebbe say with assurance, go in peace. I bless you. By next year, you should inform me of good news. He walks out, he's radiant. His friend Shimon says, no, how did it go? He says, Baruch Hashem, I got a bracha for children. Of course, Shimon cannot wait, and he waits his turn, goes in, and there's almost a replay. Rabbi, please, I give tzedakah, I try my best to be a loyal Jew. I haven't been blessed yet with children. Rebbe, pray to God, give me a bracha. And the Rebbe says, I bless you, that by next year you should inform me of good news. Okay, we fast forward, and a year passes. Reuven sends a telegram to the Rebbe that his wife is in the 3rd month and continues to beg the Rebbe to make sure to bless him that it should be a healthy birth. However, Shimon, nothing changed. And as the pregnancy is literally and figuratively growing by his friend, he decides to go to the Rebbe again. But this time he came in not only asking for a bracha, but with a little bit of a claim. Rebbe, why wasn't it effective by me? Why did you bless my friend and not me? And the Rebbe said, heaven forbid. However, the difference was your friend that day bought a crib. He was so certain that the blessing would be fulfilled that he made a vessel to receive that vessel. And he was already talking about decorating the child's room. You received a bracha, but somewhere it wasn't real to you. So you didn't do anything practical to actualize the bracha, and perhaps the bracha had not yet taken effect. It rained, but in this particular case, the seed was not fertilized. Why do I tell this story? Because in general, We're living in blessed times. Never in the history of mankind has there been so much blessing. Starting with, I know you're going to not like this, but starting with good health and access to good health. And starting with affluence and access to more affluence. And a variety of food, a variety of clothing, a variety of entertainment, which is unparalleled. The kings of old wouldn't even be able to imagine the types of pleasure and exquisite pleasure of exotic stuff, which even an average person could either experience personally or vicariously with virtual reality. With all of this blessing, why are so many of us walking around with glum faces? Perhaps the blessings are being given, but we're not creating the vessel for it. Now, this could be another 40-minute talk, so let me be very concise in 2-3 minutes. I mentioned earlier from a perspective of a non-farmer, when the earth is turned over, there's a softness to the earth that allows the rain to permeate. Perhaps the blessings that we all are being exposed to are running off us because we're just simply arrogant. We're simply hard. We actually feel we're deserving of everything. And we want it now and yesterday. But if we were able to reveal an underside to our personality, which is humility, which is gratitude, which is concern for a fellow man. It's not only about me. It's not all about me. There are more important things than me. Perhaps if we could reveal that, we would somehow absorb these tremendous blessings, which literally are staring us in the face and are as close to you right now as the chair you're sitting on. It is there. We are living in blessed times. What we have to do is reveal it by making ourselves vulnerable and revealing ourselves. So, how do we end? We end with, there's no measure, there's no end to goodness. For all of the good, God, please give us more good. For all of the blessings, dear God, please bless us even further. All of those blessings, may they be revealed. And let's hope and pray that the ultimate blessing, which we all yearn for, a world of goodness and kindness and spirituality and holiness, will literally evolve in front of our eyes as quick as it takes in the blink of the eye. Shalom.